So there's a lot of Back 4 Blood info out there that not a lot of people may know about, and it covers a lot of questions and concerns that you guys may have. The card system, mod support, DLC content, and more. So today we're going to take a look at some more important information about the highly anticipated Back 4 Blood. This information comes from a developer livestream hosted by Tyler McVicker, an awesome creator who covers a lot of Valve-related gaming content. I'll leave a link to the 3-hour livestream down below, but I watched the whole thing and we're going to talk about the important information that we learned from it. So the first thing I want to get into is something that I've seen a lot of people talking about, whether it be in the comments in my videos, on the subreddit, or even on Twitter, and that's the card system. A lot of people are concerned about how it's going to affect the overall feel of the gameplay, and some are worried that it's going to be used as a vessel for microtransactions and that kind of thing. But when asked about this directly, the developer Chris Ashton did confirm that no, cards are not going to be paid in any way. He even mentioned that the name was something that the team was kind of worried about, with people misinterpreting what it may have meant. They didn't want people to think of them as being kind of like a paid card game or something like that, but they thought that it would be easier for people to understand because people know and comprehend what playing cards are. So cards worked a lot different in the alpha than they're going to work in the full game. In the alpha, at the beginning of each round, you were given a set of 3 cards to choose from. You could pick one and add it to your deck for that round, and you could also find them randomly throughout the mission. But Chris talked about how cards are going to work as your kind of natural player progression. You'll unlock them through playing and leveling up, and they're going to be a permanent addition to your loadout rather than just from round to round. You're going to be able to use your deck to really customize and fine-tune how you want to play and build your character around a certain playstyle, which I think is a pretty cool idea, and I'm really glad that your deck is going to stick with you rather than having to start over at the beginning of each session. And obviously there's going to be more generic cards like faster reloads and more health, but they said that the team is wanting to implement more cards that change gameplay in fun ways rather than just strictly this one raises your HP or melee damage. Honestly, I'm not too sure what they could do with that, so let me know some of your ideas for kind of like the more wacky cards that they could make. And just to reiterate, cards are not going to be tied to microtransactions. I know that a lot of people were worried about that, so it's something that I really wanted to make sure I brought up. If you played the alpha or really watched anything on it, I'm sure you've noticed some key differences between Back 4 Blood and Left 4 Dead. And I'm going to make a more in-depth video talking about this after the beta comes out, just so that we kind of have more to talk about because the game was in alpha when we all played it. But the developers actually had some pretty interesting things to say when asked about the differences that really stick out to them. Chris stated that the tone in Back 4 Blood is more based around the idea of hope rather than horror and dread. They said they wanted the game to have more positive themes and undertones, and I think that plays a big part in a lot of the differences that people noticed, like the lack of horror music, for example, which is definitely something I'm gonna miss. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I think Left 4 Dead does tone and atmosphere extremely well with the way it handles audio cues, the music, and the sound of a jockey cackling off in the distance.
Reloading!
Dude, I hear one of them. This thing is driving me!
But Back 4 Blood is going for different themes and a different atmosphere. You know, Tyler Vicker actually made a really good point at the end of the live stream where he basically said that games have been playing on the Left 4 Dead formula for pretty much over a decade now, if you can believe that. So Turtle Rock kind of had to go in and try and innovate on an already near perfect formula. And if you think about it, this is 100% true. Left 4 Dead really spawned an entire genre of games, kind of the same way Dark Souls did for the Souls-like genre. Every co-op shooter takes at least some inspiration from Left 4 Dead, and most other zombie games do as well. Every game has a boomer or a bombie type, as I like to call it. My friends thought that was pretty clever. But there's a spitter type, a tank type. Left 4 Dead really did invent the blueprint for co-op shooters. That's why I love those games so much. And even back when I was younger, I knew that game was something special. So another big difference between the games from a more gameplay perspective is that you'll only summon the Horde if you do something to screw up, like open an alarm door, scare a flock of crows, or alert the Snitch, which is the special zombie that screams and kind of summons the Horde. So before we move on to the last big topics, content, and the DLC, I kind of want to rapid fire through a couple miscellaneous things that didn't really fit anywhere neatly in my outline. So the first fun fact is about flashlights and how they work. Flashlights aren't going to be a toggle on and off kind of thing like they were in Left 4 Dead. Instead, they'll just turn on automatically in situations where they're needed. While they were kind of talking about this, they also just kind of brushed over but confirmed that there aren't any enemy types that react to light like the witch, so there wasn't really a need for it to be a toggle in the first place. I'm sure that also plays a role with how the game is kind of moving away from a more horror aesthetic and more towards an action game. Another quick thing is crossplay, to which Chris simply said that he didn't know yet. I really do hope that that's something they're able to get into the game, because it's just becoming more and more common, and it's something that I honestly do really look forward to in games. Pretty much all of my friends still play on Xbox and always will, and I moved over to PC a couple years ago, so crossplay for me is just a super nice quality of life and accessibility feature, and being that Back 4 Blood is a co-op shooter, I'm really hoping we see it. So another thing that I saw a lot of comments talking about is actually how difficult the game was, and I'll admit I had a lot of trouble with it as well. I was never even able to beat the alpha. I could never beat the final level. We would get to the bridge part and I only ever played with randies. So a big problem was people didn't really know exactly what to do, and because it was just random people, the cooperation wasn't there, so it was just a shit show. But Chris Ashton, the developer, did say that they intentionally made the alpha a little bit more difficult. They didn't want people to just fly through it once and just kind of be done with it. They intentionally increased the difficulty because they wanted people to spend more time with the alpha and get to know the card system and some of the more intricate details of the game that they just kind of wanted more feedback on. But now we're on to the thing that I know a lot of people are pretty curious about: the content itself and the Season Pass DLC. When asked about how big the alpha was compared to the final game and how long the game actually was, the devs obviously couldn't say for sure, but they said that the alpha was just a small slice of the different weapons and zombie variety, and they said that they've made more unique content for this game than any of their previous titles. He even said that they were able to do all this in less time, so I'm really excited to see what else they've got. So when Tyler asked Chris about the Season Pass content and whether or not it was going to divide the community, his reaction was honestly pretty interesting, and instead of me trying to reiterate it and kind of summarize it, I think it would just be better if I played the clip for full context.
Well, sure, you can ask anything you want.
Is the pre-order DLC gonna divide the community? Because they announced like those Ultimate Editions on Steam earlier today.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't have talked about that yet. But what do you do? No. So yeah, I can't really elaborate, but no.
Sure.
I mean, obviously we're super sensitive to that. We had such a bad run of it with Evolve that we're like in every sort of meeting we've ever been in, we're like insanely adamant about the way this stuff is gonna work. So I think we have a good plan. I hope that everybody's gonna be happy. I think they will. But we have to talk about it first and then see how people react.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I have
Now, I'm sure a lot of you know that this is something that I'm personally pretty concerned about. And judging from Chris's reaction, it really seems like that's something that the devs are pretty concerned about as well. His answer to, is it going to divide the community, was no, which makes me wonder what kind of systems they're putting in place to prevent that from happening. I made an entire video talking about the Season Pass issue, and I was pretty hard on it, but my intention was never to shit on the game or spread negativity in the Back 4 Blood community, because I love Turtle Rock. Left 4 Dead is one of my favorite game series of all time, and I even thought Evolve was really great from a gameplay perspective. It was an interesting idea, and it had interesting design elements. I'm not going to go super deep into it, but there is a mini rant incoming. So the reason I'm worried isn't just because of having to pay for more content down the line. I'm a 360 boy. A part of me still misses the days of big DLC releases and playing that new Zombies map for the first time with my friends, new story expansions or Halo maps. But because that model is outdated in 2021 and no one wants to pay for expansions when so many games do that at no extra cost. Even Activision, one of the greediest gaming corporations in the history of man, figured that out with Modern Warfare and Cold War. Paid story expansions, paid playable characters with distinct abilities for not only co-op, but also in PvP, paid weapon skins and character skins, banners, emblems, sprays, and friggin' 4-day early access is total BS. And when Tyler asked Chris about mod support, Chris simply stated that he didn't know, but he hoped that it was something the team could implement. But I don't know how they could do that, because how could they make money from cosmetics when players could make their own, and literally whatever they wanted? I'm hard on game monetization because I firmly believe that it has a trickle-down effect to so many other aspects of the game design. And I could rant about that for a long time, but I like keeping these videos short so you guys can find more value for giving me your time to watch my content. It means a lot to me, so thank you. But this issue can still be fixed. Gears 5 changed its monetization model due to fan feedback, and Battlefront 2 did as well. But we have to direct our criticism in the right direction, in the right places. More towards the publisher, WB, rather than at the developers, Turtle Rock. Because ultimately, the publisher is the one who has the most influence on that decision. And we have to be more constructive than just leaving mean and nasty comments or being extremely negative towards the devs. We all want this game to do well. The fans, the devs, even the publishers. So let's work together and be constructive so that Back 4 Blood can be the best it can be. But I want to ask you guys quick, what other games are you excited about? What other topics would you be interested in seeing me cover? Let me know, because I really want to focus in and double down on content and make stuff that you guys are really interested in. But that about wraps things up for today. If you made it through, a like goes a long way around here, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. It does mean a lot to me, and until next time, have a good one.